Most people believe in some sort of higher power. And my question is, would you agree?
Yes.
I do agree in a higher power, yes.
I think most people do, yeah. There's definitely a higher power.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Why? Because there is. I think if you just look around at what we live in today, I think it's evident that there is, I believe, there's a God.
I have many reasons, I'm very spiritually connected as well, so it's impossible for this to exist without a higher power.
Would you agree that our life experiences and the world around us tend to push us to come to this idea or this hypothesis that there should be something, a higher power, but coming to the conclusion that there is a higher power, it would be necessary that whoever or whatever that being is, that it reveal itself, because we as human beings might not have the ability to come to the conclusion that there is. I mean, we can come to the conclusion that there should be, but the certainty that there is, that's something that should ideally be manifested by whoever that being is.
Yeah.
Well, I believe he did.
I agree with that.
Well, that's the human-centric idea of religion again and God, right? Maybe he's actually showing us, if we don't notice, we don't understand. Maybe he's showing us, but he would be showing everyone. I don't believe it would be just to people. And why now? Why not 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago? Why not in another galaxy?
That fits in with a lot of like the first time I did transcendental meditation at one stage, and the first time I actually meditated, I went somewhere else.
Right.
I was above an ocean, just floating, extremely peaceful, and then I came back and went, oh, that's me. This is just, playing a game for now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Without proof in front of somebody, I think most people will blindlessly follow through their life there. So if it's there in their face, I think they can't deny it.
When you take that concept of everything points in the direction of there should be something, right? If we start off there, when you observe the universe, what you see is an interesting situation where everything has been provided its fundamental faculties for growth. Everything. So a very basic example would be we've got eyes, we've got lungs, we've got ears. But interestingly, for those eyes to be able to see, there's an external source which is light that is required for the eyes to see. We've got lungs, but again, there's an external source which is oxygen for those lungs to be able to operate. Again, we've got ears, but those ears are of no use if there's no air that allows the sound waves to travel to the ear, right? So what we witness is, and you can take it from the micro to even further to the macro. So for example, you've got the tree or a plant. Now, a plant is here on Earth, and it requires water, it requires the minerals of the soil for it to grow. But the plant also requires the photosynthesis of the sun, which is millions of miles away, for it to grow. So fundamentally, everything's been given the ability for growth. Now, in contrast to that, or you can say not contrast, but complementing that, it's interesting when you utilize something properly. If you, like, for example, when a person decides to live appropriately, right? When they use their faculties in the way that they were meant to be used, right? So, for example, if you have a good diet, you exercise, you will potentially live a good, healthy lifestyle. So there's always this potential for growth and limitless progress for the human being, right? So both of these two things, in my understanding, point towards a designer who is infinitely compassionate, right?
How we got to do that?
Yeah.
The design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A designer who is infinitely compassionate and only wants compassion for the creation. And that, you know how you mentioned that it's human-centric, but I don't believe it is human-centric. I think that whoever that designer is, he's taken into consideration all of creation when it comes to that mercy and the ability for growth? Because just as we're benefiting from the universe around us, so is the bird, and so are the animals, etc. Right?
Everything works in such a perfect, connection. Like,
Yeah.
there's a perfect relationship between literally everything that's natural.
How do you think then we are supposed to come to that realization that there is? And how do you think this being should or would manifest itself, or has?
I think nature is the biggest indicator, but also through connection of love. I think love is the biggest show of what that creation power is.
I wouldn't have a clue. I guess some people see sights, visions, that type of thing. Maybe some people see secret signs. I guess it's how people's spirit interpret those sort of signs, warnings, whatever you want to call it.
If you have hearts that are open and minds that are open, then you can experience him actively in your life.
I think just my lived experience. I grew up in a Christian home. My dad's a minister.
Okay.
I fell away from it in my when I sort of moved to Sydney. But I came back over the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm back into church, and I believe that with all my heart that there is a God.
What if there was another way, which is through speech? So speech which you can say overwhelmingly tells you that this knowledge couldn't have come from anywhere but this source.
I don't really get where you're coming from there.
Okay, so I'll elaborate. So, for example, I think human history, you know how you spoke about history, so history would tell us that nearly every nation has had people who at some point have claimed that a higher power has made contact with them, and then using that knowledge they've expressed that information to their surroundings, right? Which to a degree in many cases would go against the status quo, but would be progressive to a degree that it would be like a counterbalance and bring about some level of peace within the society because of it. So you can take the examples of Jesus or Abraham, or even people like Confucius and Buddha and Lao Tzu, etc. I'm a Muslim, so I believe that all of these, we refer to them as prophets of God. They were all true, and they all came for every nation to basically express to them that God or the Supreme Being has made contact with them. But in particular, in terms of the Prophet Muhammad, who's the founder of Islam, it's interesting because, I'll give you one example. So he received revelation in the 7th century telling him that, so the verse is that the people who disbelieve, do they not see that the entire universe was a closed up mass, which is referred to as a ratqan in Arabic, which is smaller than an atom. It's like a singularity, and we rent it asunder. And in another verse it says that, and we continue to expand it. So that's the type of knowledge that we've obviously now come to realize through physics to be true. But for someone of the 7th century to be able to get that knowledge and then relay it, do you think that might be enough, maybe evidence to kind of at least push someone to investigate that maybe there is contact being made?
Intelligent, open-minded people would definitely look at it.
Definitely.
Totally.
Yes, absolutely.
I think everyone believes in the same thing, but we perceive what that is, you know what I mean? But I think at the end of the day, that higher power is here, and then it radiates with Muslims, Christians, and all that stuff. But I feel that if you take the time to go down the path of everyone's journey, I think it will lead to the same place.
Do you think we should be having more of these conversations, especially with our young people? Because Yeah.
Always. Yeah.